Ram
Krishna
Ram 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 Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare Krishna
Krishna
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so 7:30 we will read Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so we are in the seventh canto, seventh chapter. What Prahlad learned in the womb. Swarnam yathagravasu hemakaraha kshetreshu yogestadabhigna ap apnuyat kshetreshu deheshu tathatma yoger adhyatma vidbrahma gatim labheta. Okay, translation. An expert geologist can understand where there is gold and by various processes can extract it from the gold ore. So geologists they have to find out by some technology which part of the earth there is gold, and once they find it they extract it from the gold ore. So somebody who's expert they can find out where there is gold and they can extract it from the gold ore. That's the whole science of metallurgy. Similarly, a spiritually advanced person can understand how the spiritual particle exists within the body, and thus, by cultivating spiritual knowledge, he can attain perfection in spiritual life. However, as one who is not expert cannot understand where there is gold, a foolish person who has not cultivated spiritual knowledge cannot understand how the spirit exists within the body. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the 15th chapter, Krishna is saying that those who are in knowledge, they can understand about the soul and the body and how the soul transmigrates. But those who are not educated in knowledge, they cannot understand all these things. It's just like if you're not educated in mechanical engineering, then you cannot understand how a car works, right? Because you don't have that knowledge. Similarly, when you have knowledge about something, then you can understand. A foolish person who doesn't understand the difference between matter and spirit cannot understand where the spirit soul is, and he's not cultivated spiritual knowledge. He has not heard in the parampara. He has not gotten the knowledge in parampara. So he doesn't know. I want to see in the 15th chapter, Krishna is saying, right? There is a verse. Here he says, the living entity thus taking another gross body. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. So those who have Shastra Chakshu, because they are learned in knowledge, they can see. The endeavoring transcendentalists who are situated in self realization can see all this clearly. But those whose minds are not developed and who are not situated in self realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try. Okay, so here Prahlad is saying the same thing. Here is a very good example concerning spiritual understanding. Foolish rascals, including so called Gyanis, philosophers, and scientists, cannot understand the existence of the soul within the body because they are lacking in spiritual knowledge. Of course, Gyanis, the real Gyanis, they know, but here the so called Gyanis, philosophers, and scientists who only deal with matter. Scientist means devotee of matter. Right? They always analyzing, thinking about how matter interacts and things like that. They can understand about this spirit soul, which is different from matter, because they are lacking in spiritual knowledge. The Vedas enjoin tad vijnanartham sa gurumeva abhigachet. This is Mundak Upanishad, Samit Pani Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. That's the verse. So if you want to learn spiritual knowledge, then you have to the spiritual master. In a Samit Pani Shrotriyam, one who is fixed up, and Brahmanishtam. To understand spiritual knowledge, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master who has himself heard it in the parampara. Unless one has been trained in geology, one cannot detect gold in stone because it's in the ore, so you don't know how to. Similarly, unless one has been trained by a spiritual master, he cannot understand what is spirit and what is matter. So, in the early days, they used to go and get training under a spiritual master. They would, you know, spend time in Gurukul where they will receive transcendental knowledge. Now that training is lacking, not there, so everybody is in the bodily conception of life. Here it is said, Yogais tad abhignaha. This indicates that one who has connected himself with spiritual knowledge can understand that there is a spiritual soul within the body. However, one who is in an animalistic conception of life and has no spiritual culture cannot understand. Yasyatma buddhi kuna petri dhatuke. What's the verse? Yasyatma buddhi kuna petri dhatuke swati kalatrad. Huh?
अततेषु भाम इज्यति यत्तीर्थबुद्धिशलेन करिचित् जनेषु अभिघ्नेषु स एव गोखर.
Means what does it mean?
One who identifies himself with the body, Yashatma Buddhi with the body made of three things, bile, mucus, and air, and Swadhikalatradeshu, who identifies his wife and family as his own. Tirtha Buddhi, and who travels to the places of pilgrimages to take bath and not to associate with devotees, better than cow or ass.
Anybody who's, this Bhagavatam verse is saying that anybody who's in bodily conception of life, and bodily conception of life means all these things. One who thinks that this body is me, and this body is made up of three elements. Yasyatma buddhi kunape. Kunape means the bag. Three dhatuke. This bag of three elements, bile, mucus, and air. Kapha, pitta, vayu. And one who thinks that this is my wife, and these are my children, and this is my place of birth, and so I'm very attached to my place of birth. Bhoma ijjati. Ijja means to worship. One who's thinking that this is my place of birth, and then one who thinks that who goes to the holy place just to take bath in the rivers there, but never hears from the holy people there. Then his mentality is like a cow or ass. Okay, so what distinguishes us from the animals is the athato brahma jigyasa. We can question, why am I here? Where am I going? What is the purpose of this life? If you don't have all this and you are just trying to improve your eating, mating, sleeping, and defending, then there is no difference between you and the animals. One time, one person came to Prabhupada. His name was P.L. Sethi, right? And Prabhupada said, so what is your day like? And he said, so I get up in the morning, then I do I take my breakfast, and then I go to work. And then Prabhupada started saying that, so what is the difference between you and an animal? The animal is also getting up in the morning, looking for food, and you are also eating something and then going to work like that. So what is the difference? So like that, we are supposed to get up, we are supposed to chant Hare Krishna. That distinguishes us, not like rushing to work and without any spiritual progress. So Prabhupada was like heavy on P.L. Sethi, but later on P.L. Sethi realized and he helped Prabhupada build the Juhu temple. And Prabhupada was very happy with him. He was helping him build the temple and all the rooms. Yeah, you say so. What did Prabhupada say to PL Sethi? That you are building rooms for my disciples here in Vaikuntha, and so Krishna is building rooms for you in Vaikuntha. So, so anybody who helps in constructing the temple of Vishnu gets so much benefit. However, one who is an animalistic conception of life and has no spiritual culture cannot understand. As an expert mineralogist or geologist can understand where there is gold and then can invest his money to dig there and chemically separate from the gold from the ore, an expert spiritual understand where the soul is within matter. One who has not been trained cannot distinguish between gold and stone. So this, yeah, for a person who doesn't know, like you give a child, you give him a stone and you give a gold, he cannot understand the value of gold. So for him, both are same. Of course, Krishna also says, for one who is above the modes of material nature, he sees stone and pebbles and gold as same because he is in a transcendental consciousness. That's another thing because uh, he is not attached to money for enjoyment, and so he sees all these things are not. That's why Sanatan Goswami had put that. What was that? What do you call it? The stone, Parasmani or Chintamani?
Touchstone.
Touchstone. He had put it in the garbage, and so of course we can also use that in Krishna's service. So Rupa Goswami says, well, if you have something which can be used in Krishna's service and you renounce it as material, then it is called what? What kind of vairagya is it called? Falgu vairagya, right?
Falgu Vairagi.
What is the verse? Anasaktas, no. Uh, how does it start? Falgu vairagya verse. Prapanchikataya.
Prophet. Hari Samandhi Vastuna Mumukshubhi Parityaga Vairagyam Falgu Katite.
So if something you can use in Krishna's service and you think it is material and you reject it, then your renunciation is not complete. So we have to use everything. Like we give the example that if $100 bill is there on the road, a karmi comes along and he says, oh, $100 bill, oh, I can enjoy. I'll take it. It's mine. Nobody. A jnani comes along and says, this does not belong to me. I will not touch it. Whereas a bhakta comes and he says, oh, let me find that person who went. He may have dropped the bill. Let me give it back to him. So ultimately everything belongs to Krishna. So the bhakta's mentality is that I should use everything that I have that is given to me by Krishna in his service. Instead of saying, oh, this is not, this is material and I will not use it. No. Prabhupada says, if you give me money, yes, I will use money. I'm not saying I don't want money. You give money and I'll use it to spend it for spreading Krishna consciousness. So that's, and Karmi gets the money, he says, oh, it's for my enjoyment. I will use it for my enjoyment. I will go on this. I'll eat in the nicest restaurant. I will go there, here, where vacation and cruise and all these things. So that's the difference between. So everything belongs to Krishna. They can use everything in Krishna's service. So one who has not been trained cannot distinguish between gold and stone. Again, it's a question of knowledge. Similarly, fools and rascals who have not learned from an expert spiritual master what is soul and what is matter cannot understand the existence of the soul within the body. Like Prabhupada met a professor in Russia. He was a professor of Hindu philosophy, Dr. Kotovsky. And Prabhupada quotes this in his lecture many times. He says he's the professor of Hindu philosophy, and he's saying, he was telling Prabhupada that after this body is finished, everything is finished. So many times people, they have no knowledge, although they profess that I am this, I am that. And Charvak also said, some or other beg, borrow, or steal, but get what? Borrow or steal, but get ghee. Because
Get ghee.
get ghee. And what will happen if you get ghee? You eat ghee, and then you'll become very strong. Your senses will become very strong. Then you enjoy. And don't worry about next life, because when this body is finished, everything is finished. So there are many people who think like that, and because they don't want to think about that there is a next life, and there is, they're responsible for their actions like that. So it will give you guilt-free enjoyment, right? You can do whatever you like, and you can cheat somebody, anything, nothing, no, no consequences, because with the body everything is finished. So that is also, many people think like that. So to understand such knowledge, one must be trained in the mystic yoga system, or finally in the bhakti yoga system. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 1855, bhaktya ma janati. Unless one takes shelter of bhakti yoga process, one cannot understand the existence of soul within the body. So one is to have knowledge, and then one has to actually act on that platform that I am spirit soul. So that's another thing. To actually realize it means, yeah, then if you realize I'm not this body, I'm the soul, then your priorities in life will change. Then you will not be engaged in all the only bodily conception activities. One needs to work to maintain one's body. Prabhupada says, yeah, even the tiger, lion has to work in this material world to find his food, even though he's the king of the jungle. But only as much is necessary to keep the body and soul together, so that we can use our body to serve Krishna. Like they say, we eat to live, not live to eat. So that's the difference. We eat to live. So whatever is necessary in this world to work, so that I can use my body to serve Krishna, and then I can move towards the goal of life. So unless one takes shelter of bhakti yoga process, one cannot understand the existence of the soul within the body. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita begins by teaching Dehino asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara prapti tirastatra namuyati. The first instruction Krishna tells Arjuna. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change, because it's all, after all, very transient. We are all here for a very short time. Give 10, 15, 20 years in your life and things will change. So Bhakti Charu Maharaj, somebody sent the quote, in this material nature, whatever we are going through is like a dream. But because we are asleep in the lap of Maya, we think that this is real. When we wake up, we'll see that this is only a dream. When we actually wake up from this dream of illusory nature, we'll wake up in the spiritual world. Fortunately, our waking up process has already started. Devotees came and told us this is actually a dream, so you should wake up now. So all these things, what we are thinking, all this, I am this, I am that, is all a dream, this material existence. Because as soon as you leave this body, just like when you are sleeping, you are having a nice or a bad dream. But when you wake up, the dream is over. Right? That is gone. Whatever the reality you were in, whether you were a king or a beggar, and you were enjoying in the dream, you don't like to wake up if you are having a nice dream. And you like to wake up if you are having a bad dream. Right? But as soon as you wake up, whether it's nice or not so nice, the dream is gone. So similarly, as soon as this is a 60, 70-year-old dream where we are identifying that I am the son of such and such, this is my father and mother, this is my child. And as soon as you leave this body, the dream is over. So then you have no connection with anything of this world. So in the same way, Like my mother passed away, right? So I often think about it, whether, yeah, she was there, but now she's gone and forever. And then I'll be gone in few years. And then as time goes on, everything will vanish into oblivion. You know, everything will go away. And we'll keep recycling in this material world. We keep recycling into different dreams. Every life is a dream. Unless you wake up to the reality that I'm spirit soul and I belong to Krishna. So, like that, we are trying to make every dream nice. In this dream, we are working to make it very nice dream. So, everybody is working very hard, like that. So, nobody likes a bad dream, everybody likes a good dream. So, thus, the first instruction is that one should understand the soul is within the body and is transmigrating from one body to another. This is the beginning of spiritual knowledge. Any person who is not expert in understanding this science or is unwilling to understand it remains in the bodily conception of life or the animalistic conception of life as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Yasyatma buddhi kunapitri dhatuke sa eva gokhara. That's the verse you quoted. So, every member of human society should clearly understand the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, for only in this way can one be spiritually elevated and automatically give up the false illusory knowledge by which one thinks, I am this body and everything belonging to this body is mine. Aham mameti. This doggish conception, it's a dog mentality. This doggish conception should be rejected immediately. Prabhupada says that this conception that I am this body and everything belonging to this body is mine should be given up immediately. One should be prepared to understand the spirit soul and the supreme spirit, God, who are eternally related. Thus, one may return home back to Godhead, having solved all the problems of life. Okay. So, any comments? It's the basic 101 Krishna consciousness philosophy. Anybody has any comments? Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
It is said that Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. So I think it relates to that.
Another way, it is not mithya. Jagat is not mithya. We say like that also. The way we are seeing is mithya. So, but Jagat is Krishna's energy. So it is not mithya. It is there, but we may be seeing it in the wrong way. So that is also our philosophy, Prabhupada would say. Another sense, it is mithya because we are seeing it in the wrong way. So that's why it's mithya. I'm thinking I'm this body and everything connected to the body is mind. So that is mithya, like we discussed yesterday.
But then, when we give the example of the dream has no reality.
Yeah, the dream has no reality if you are not connected with Krishna. You're seeing it in illusion. So it's dream. But if you're seeing it in a Krishna conscious way, everything.
So then the dreams appear when we get dreams when we have a lot of thoughts or a lot of thoughts going on, like there is fear of future, or there is a surety of future, or like there is a particular situation we would like to have, or there is a particular situation we would procrastinate, or we would postpone or prepone. So I think when those situations that are given by Krishna, and according to our thoughts, those dreams we get. So I think dreams are also reality, like kind of a virtual reality.
Yeah, like in a dream, if a tiger is chasing you, you are actually feeling the pain, right? I mean, you're actually suffering in the dream when you have a nightmare because
Yeah, sweating.
you're sweating or whatever, or you're enjoying Prabhupada's gratification. Then certain things happen when you're in your dream, if you're thinking of sense gratification. So in the body, some things are happening because subtle thing. So it is a dream. Yes, you are thinking like that. But as soon as you wake up from the dream, then it is not like you are a king or a beggar, whatever. It is a dream, right? It's not. So you can be equipoised in. We can be equipoised when we think that yeah, this is not like this is what I'm spirit soul and all these things are happening. This is nothing to I have nothing to do with it really. So dream is also because of our subtle body has many impressions. In one place, Prabhupada mentions about how uh, in the subtle body we have been through so many lifetimes and so many impressions and things have been there and they surface just like bubbles come up from the bottom of the lake into on the surface. So similarly, subconscious impressions from many lifetimes and this lifetime they just come up, and so that also can happen. Like they do what is past life hypnotic regression, right? They can tell you where you were in your past life because that memory is there in your mind, and through hypnotic regression, they can bring out all those memories from deep inside your mind. Because when we leave this body, then the subtle body comes along with the soul to the next body. And that's why we have all the phobias and all these things. We have fear of, some people have fear of closed places. Maybe they were imprisoned in some dungeon or something in the past life and they didn't like it there. They had a bad experience. So there are closed places or fear of heights. Maybe somebody pushed them or they fell, they died in a plane crash. Some people have very phobia of flying, right? They don't like to fly in an airplane. Maybe they were in a past life, they had some. So that kind of feeling is there, or water feeling hydrophobia because they
Yeah,
drown.
like there is this particular belief that if you have birthmarks, then it is a clear sign of reincarnation. Like the soul takes birth for a special purpose. It has already done all the activity, like all the karmas it has done in the past life, like family or social welfare or everything. Then second is like the pain, that if you have pain in the neck or something, then it was most probably that you were beheaded in your last birth, so you were executed or something like that, because the pain on the neck is constant, and suddenly when there is some fearful situation, then that pain starts. So that is like these are some of the research things that came up.
Yeah. And then there
Yeah,
are
but the birthmarks are related to the body, right? So how come the soul, which is ego and travels,
Yeah,
how does the
so
birthmark carry? Because it's on the body, right?
bodies. So how
yeah,
does
it happens because like there are soul imprints. So if your soul left the body, last body, before it was fully burned or before it was fully what to say, whatever the rituals were, and it immediately takes another body within a fraction of seconds, then it comes with the birthmark, is what the papers, like the research papers and the doctors, scientists also believe that now. So they have publish those kind of papers, that if your soul has left the body, a past body, before it was properly cremated, then you get those birthmarks or something like. So you that day you said, Sugandha, you don't have a birthmark, so this is probably your first human birth.
I didn't say that, but yeah, I don't have.
she became Brahma and then now from Brahma she has come to Columbus?
I fell down.
Because first birth is Brahma. So okay, so
Prabhuji, your voice is cutting, I think.
is it
Uh,
cutting?
Anybody else is experiencing this? Because from the beginning,
Yeah, yeah, it is. There is a voice lag.
Oh, is it? Is it cutting every now and then? Like,
Yeah.
what should I do? Maybe change my net. You can tell me if it's better or it's still cutting. But I changed my network.
It's much better. It's much better.
Yeah, but as I speak, I think you will know more. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, there's I was going to show you this. Prabhupada says about dreams and past lives in a purport in Bhagavatam. In dreams, we sometimes see things that we have never experienced in the present body. Is it breaking still?
No.
Sometimes in dreams, we think
No.
that we are flying in the sky, although we have no experience of flying. This means that once in a previous life, either as a demigod or astronaut, we flew in the sky. This impression is there in the stockpile of the mind, and it suddenly expresses itself. It is like fermentation taking place in the depths of the water, which sometimes manifests itself in bubbles on the water surface. Sometimes we dream of coming to a place we have never known or experienced in this lifetime, but this is a proof that in a past life we experienced this. Some people who have memories, they say, "Oh, I've been to here. This place looks very familiar." And there are many movies also made. Of course, movies you can't believe, but sometimes people have led them to their past life, their family in their past life, where they belong, and all these things. So the impression is kept within the mind and sometimes becomes manifest either in dream or in thought. The conclusion is that the mind is the storehouse of various thoughts and experiences undergone during our past lives. Thus, there is a chain of continuation from one life to another, from previous lives to this life, and from this life to future lives. So, if we make our mind like devotional service, then next life again, we'll be attracted to devotional service. In the Bhagavad Gita, in 6th chapter, Krishna says, again, by virtue of his previous divine consciousness, he again becomes attracted to these yogic principles, right? To devotional principles, to devotional service, because he has cultivated in the past life. So he naturally has an attraction for these things. So, okay. Like Bharat Maharaj, right? He was automatically very detached in his life. So some people are like that, they're not attracted to material enjoyment. They are automatically looking for spiritual life from the very beginning because they have done long thing in their past life. So, okay, so the next verse we read is all about like matter, spirit, and all these things. So we'll read this verses. अष्टौ प्रकृतया प्रोक्तास्त्रया एव हि तद्गुण विकार षोडश्चार्य पुमानेका समन्वयात्. The Lord's 8 separated material energies, the 3 modes of material nature, and the 16 transformations, the 11 senses and the 5 gross material elements like earth and water. Within all this, the one spiritual soul exists as the observer. So we are encaged in matter and we have all these gross and subtle elements in which the soul is in the encagement. Like sometimes you have multiple layers of security. So we are encaged in the gross elements and then the subtle elements also. The spiritual soul is there, and just like inside a prison you are there, you can observe. Let's say the prison has bars and you can see what's going on outside. So you are like an observer. And therefore, all the great acharyas have concluded that the individual soul is conditioned by these material elements. Okay, let's see what Prabhupada says. As explained in the previous verse, Kshetreshu Deheshu Tathatma Yogir Adhyatma Vid Brahma Gatim Labheta. A spiritually advanced person can understand how the spiritual particles exist within the body, and thus by cultivating spiritual knowledge, you can attain perfection in spiritual life. So also he sometimes it is said that don't take this dream too seriously. It's after all a dream. Don't take it too seriously because it will pass away. We don't take dreams very seriously, right? Last night I got this dream, and so it was a dream. It is gone, right? So it has no reality actually. So those who are in the spiritual, those who have elevated their consciousness, they come to this realization that this is a dream. Don't take it too seriously. So then what we should do? We should chant Hare Krishna and do devotional service. That's the only purpose why we got this human form of life, to go back home, back to God, to get out of this dream-like situations we have put ourselves in. Jiva jago, jiva jago. So yeah, it's the only purpose. Kamasya nendriya pritir labho jiveta yavata. Jivasya tattva jigyasa nartho yascheha karma bhi. Then I should not try for material success and all these things and all. Yeah. Then how will Krishna will take care of me? Those who have faith like that, they engage in devotional service. Then we have to we have to see whether the philosophy is correct or not. So if you surrender to Krishna, and we can see in the lives of others who have completely dedicated their life to Krishna, Krishna is taking care. Prabhupada was taken care of by Krishna. Sometimes we think like unless, it's not logical, right? I have to take care of myself and I have to make my material arrangement. But then Prahlad Maharaj says, well, by your destiny, whatever you are destined to get, you will get. And just as suffering comes without. Of course, another way to look at it is that according to the modes of nature, we will be forced to act also in a certain way. When we are in the, like Arjuna, Krishna told Arjuna that even if you think you will not fight, but by the modes of nature that you are the Kshatriya, you will be forced to do certain things. So even we may say, well, I will not do anything. It is not possible because the modes of material nature will induce you to act in a certain way. That is what Krishna is saying. The modes of nature you are under the modes of nature and you are acting in a certain way, but you are thinking you are independent. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Although we are imprisoned under the modes of material nature, but Maya makes you feel that no, I am independent. But when you carefully observe, you can see how the modes of nature are sometimes making you work against your own interest. And they will not let you go. Devi Esha Gunamai, Mam Maya Duratya. The modes of nature are so strong. This divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes of material nature is very difficult to overcome. But only one who has Mamevaya Prapadyante, Maya Metam Tarantite. Those who have surrendered to Krishna, they can get out of these modes of nature. So if you surrender to Krishna, then you are very happy. You are above the modes of nature, and they have less influence of you, less influence on you. As you surrender more, the influence of modes of nature decreases. So the intelligent person who is expert in finding the self within the body must understand the 8 external energies which are listed in Bhagavad Gita. Bhumi rapo nalo vayu khammano buddhire vacha ahankara itiyam me bhinna prakriti rashtha. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. All together, these 8 comprise my separated material energies. Bhumi, earth, includes all the objects of sense perception. So it starts with subtle and goes to gross. So the most grossest is Bhumi, and it includes Rupa, all the different things are there in earth, made of earth. Rasa, all the different vegetables that grow from earth, all the have different taste, right? The chili has one taste, the potato has another taste, and these are all coming from the earth. Gandha, all different flowers have different smell. Jasmine, rose, and this is all coming from the earth. Shabda, sound. So sound is the most subtle element, and it is said from sound came other elements. So earth includes sound also. How can we say that earth includes sound? And sparsha, touch. Like our bodies are made up of skin. The skin is nothing but a transformation of earth. We have eaten vegetables and even non-vegetarian food. If you eat, they are eating ultimately the down the food chain. They are eating plants, right? And then so we are eating all these things, and that has been transformed into skin, which is through which we can experience sensation. So sparsha. So all these are included. Within the earth are the fragrance of roses, the taste of sweet fruit, and whatever else we want. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Sarva Kama Dugha Mahi. The earth Mahi contains all our requirements. Thus, the objects of sense perception are all present in Bhumi or the earth. The gross material elements and subtle material elements, mind, intelligence, and ahankar constitute the total material energy. So then there is ahankar and all. So within the total material energy are the three material modes or qualities. These qualities, sattva gun, rajogun, and tamogun, belong not to the soul but to the material energy. It is because of the interaction of these three material modes of nature that the five knowledge gathering senses and the five working senses and their controller, the mind, are manifested. Then, according to these modes, the living entity gets the opportunity to perform different types of karma with different types of knowledge, thinking, feeling, and willing. Thus, the bodily machine begins to work. This has all been properly analyzed in Sankhya Yoga by the great acharyas, especially by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna in his incarnation as Devahuti Putra Kapila. This is indicated here by the word acharya. We did not follow anyone who is not an authorized acharya. Acharyavan Purusha Veda. One can understand the truth fully when he has taken shelter of an expert acharya. The living entity is individual, but the body is a composition of many material elements. This is proved by the fact that as soon as the living entity quits this combination of material elements, it becomes a mere conglomeration of matter. So the body, the earth element mixes with the earth element, the air element mixes with the air element. It's just a simple lump of matter without the soul. It is just like any other dead matter. The matter is qualitatively one, and the spiritual soul is qualitatively one with the Supreme. The Supreme is one and the individual soul is one, but the individual soul is understood to be the master of the individual combination of material energy, whereas the Supreme Lord is the controller of the total material energy. So, in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada writes that to know matter and spirit, and the controller of both is knowledge. So, controller of both matter and spirit is the Supreme Lord. The living entity is the master of his particular body, or sometimes it is said Sankhya means to find the root of existence, and Bhakti means to water that root. So, where the Supreme Lord is the controller of total material energy. The living entity is the master of his particular body, and according to his activities is subjected to different types of pains and pleasures. However, although the Supreme Person, the Paramatma, is also one, he is present as an individual in all the different bodies. So, Atma and Paramatma, two different. It's a big purport. The material energy is in fact divided into 24 elements. The individual soul, the owner of the individual body, is a 25th subject, and above everything is Lord Vishnu as Paramatma, the Supreme Controller, who is the 26th subject. When one understands all of these 26 subjects, he becomes Adhyatmavit, an expert in understanding the distinction between matter and spirit. So 24, the five karmendriyas, the five jnanendriyas, and then the eight subtle and gross elements, that's 18. And then we have all the objects of the senses. And then we have the mind, like that, that's 24. 18 plus 5, 23, and 24. And then we have the soul, which is the 25th. And the 26th is the Paramatma. So when Prabhupada is saying, when one understands all of these 26 subjects, he becomes Adhyatmavit, an expert in understanding the distinction between matter and spirit. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 13.3, Kshetra Kshetra Gnayor Jnanam. The understanding of the Kshetra, the constitution of the body and of the individual soul and super soul constitutes real jnana or knowledge. Unless one ultimately understands that the Supreme Lord is eternally related with the individual soul, one's knowledge is imperfect. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7.19. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So Krishna warns that everybody should surrender to him. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. He's telling every one of us, not only to Arjun, but he's telling you give up all your manufactured dharma and all the others lower dharmas and just surrender to me. Sarva dharman parityajya. Somebody was saying, why Krishna is saying dharma? It should be sarva adharman parityajya. You should give up all adharma and surrender. No, this dharma that he's talking about is all the other lower forms of dharma. Like, my family dharma, my this dharma, that dharma, so many different dharmas. We have Brahmana dharma, this Kshatriya dharma, like that. So he's saying, give up all these dharmas you have and just just surrender to me. Sarva dharman. Because Arjuna gave so many things. What about this dharma? What will happen to the Shraddha? What will happen to this, my Kul dharma of serving my elders and this and that, and so many things he gave, so many reasons why he should not fight. And then Krishna says, give up all this, just do what I say, basically. Just take my instruction. And he wants him to fight. So sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. And if you surrender to Krishna, then there is no dharma. Devarshi bhutaptaninam pitrinam na kinkaro nayam rinicha rajan. Sarvatmana yasharanam sharanyam kato mukunda pariritya karatam. If you then all you're absolved from all debts if you surrender to Krishna. Of course, one can do one's dharma and surrender to Krishna also. But many, brahmacharis have joined the Krishna consciousness movement. They may not be performing their dharma as the son, but they are actually performing their dharma, because if they become pure devotee, then their family also gets benefited. And like to Bhakti Charu Maharaj, right? His father was a little upset when he joined the temple, and Bhakti Charu Maharaj told his father that you have other children who will take care of you in this life, but after death, I will take care of you. Because if I become a devotee and I serve Krishna, then because of my connection with you, you will also get benefited. You will also get spiritual benefit. So that is actually a spiritual benefit. And 3 Saptibhi, 21 generations are delivered, as Narsinghadev says. So, like Dhruva was going back home, back to Godhead. Then he said, what about my mother? She's my mother. Well, of course, his mother gave him the direction, but then he was saying, and then they showed him, oh, this other airplane is also going, in which your mother is there. So Prabhupada says, if one of my disciples becomes strong in Krishna consciousness, then I will also have hope. I'm also having some hope that some of my disciples will become strong. Then I will also be delivered. In that purport, he writes like that. In his humility, he writes. So, so everything material and spiritual consists of various energies of Vasudev, to whom the individual soul, the spiritual part of the Supreme Lord, is subordinate. Upon understanding this perfect knowledge, one surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Okay. So at some point, the Jiva decides, I have had enough. No, surrender, it requires much penance before one surrenders. But Prabhupada says you can surrender in a moment also. So, and what is surrender? We have Anukulyasya Sankalpa Pratikulyasya Varjanam Rakshashi Titi Vishwasho Gopatritve Varnam Atman Nikshepa Karpanye Atma Karpanya Nikshepa or Atma Karpanya Nikshepa. Right? What is it? Sadvitta Sharanagati.
Mhm.
So, but it is also consciousness where you consider Krishna as the goal of your life and you do everything for him. You use everything to serve Krishna. So, like that. Okay. So, after having enough of this material world, then one comes to, I am done with this. And he has cultivated knowledge, he has done bhakti, and some lifetime he decides this life for Krishna. I will give this one life for Krishna. Of course, we can say like that, but actually feel like that and actually do it is a different thing. But since we have this conception and we are praying, so maybe someday we'll come to that platform, or you all are already on that platform. This life is for Krishna. Prabhupada told Bhakti Charan Maharaj, right? You have tried to enjoy in so many lifetimes, but you are still not satisfied. You have enjoyed as a bird, as a beast, as a human being, as a demigod, but still you are not satisfied at heart. So why not try something different in this life and give this one life to Krishna and see what happens. If nothing happens, that's okay. You are spirit soul. There'll be another life. Just give one. You have millions of dollars. Just give $1 out of billions of dollars. So just give one life to Krishna. You have millions of lifetimes in this material world. So just give one lifetime to Krishna and see what happens like that. He's inspiring him to surrender. So, of course, anybody can surrender. It doesn't mean that one has to be in renounced order of life and like that. Many of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates were grihasthas who were also very surrendered. And there were many kings. Surrender has nothing to do with material situation. One can be like Maharajas, like Amrish Maharaj was also very surrendered. Okay. It's not necessary that one has to be poor. It means you use all your time, your energy, everything that you are doing. It is for the pleasure of Krishna. That's surrender really. Whether you are working, Arjuna is also surrendered. He's fighting, but he's surrendered. So he's doing Krishna's will. So when you are doing Krishna's will, which comes through the parampara, Prabhupada says to execute the order of the spiritual master is the surrender. You surrender to Krishna by surrendering to his representative. That is how you surrender to Krishna. And then, of course, Prabhupada is our also Shiksha Guru, and he is giving us so much advice in his books. And when we act on that advice, we are surrendering also. Okay. There is a purport right in that. Prabhupada writes in that advancement in spiritual life. I want to read that. In that he says, the order is coming from the spiritual master. One 827. Where is that purport? Go ill together, right?
Which purport?
Advancement in spiritual life and
Uh,
easygoing life.
yeah,
The Lord
yeah.
wants to see.
That is 2924.
Thank you. So we can read that. 2924. In executing penance, one must be determined to return home back to Godhead and must decide to undergo all types of tribulations for that end. Means we have to do our best, even for material prosperity and name and fame. One has to undergo severe types of penances. Like if you want to become CEO of a company, you have to go through so much education and so much constant. Otherwise, no one can become an important figure in this material world. To rise up in your life, you have to work very hard to be a successful businessman. Why then should there not be severe types of penances for the perfection of devotional service? So, for perfection in devotional service, you should be willing to do much more penance. An easygoing life and attainment of perfection in transcendental realization cannot go together. So, we have to work hard to serve the Lord, and by mercy of the Lord, then the realization will come. The Lord is more clever than any living entity. Therefore, He wants to see how painstaking the devotee is in devotional service. How much you are going to, it's not physical pain, which can be there also, but how much you are going to give up your painstaking. The most painstaking thing is to give up our conceptions of who we are and how I can enjoy in this world. And we have our own conceptions. It's very painstaking because you are changing your whole frame of mind, right? So it is very difficult. Therefore, he wants to see how painstaking the devotee is in devotional service. How much is going to fight his mind, how much is going to fight his mind so that he remains steady on the path of bhakti. The order is received because there is a force of all the senses and the mind, and so you have to fight that, and so that you can direct the mind to Krishna. The order is received from the Lord either directly or through the bona fide spiritual master. So Prabhupada received that order. You go and preach in the West. He had no means, nothing. In 1922, he received the order when he met his spiritual master for the first time. And Prabhupada was meditating on that, right? How to fulfill the order of his spiritual master. And although it was so difficult for him, but he went through that. And to execute that order, however painstaking, is the severe type of penance. One who follows the principle rigidly is sure to achieve success in attaining the Lord's mercy. Like Lord Ram wanted to build the bridge, so many stones had to be collected and so many miles long, right? I don't know how many yojanas it was, but maybe 800, 100 yojanas. So to build a bridge so long requires so much, effort. But so if you have to take pains, right? There is some anxiety you take for serving the Lord that the Lord appreciates, right? How anxiety to spread Krishna consciousness, like Malti Prabhu and all this, Shyam Sundar Prabhu, Guru Das, Yamuna, and Mukunda and Janaki, they all came to London to spread Krishna consciousness, and they had no money, nothing. So, so this is how Prabhupada also came with only 40 rupees, which sometimes they say he gave it, or whether he could not exchange it for dollars. But he came practically penniless. Of course, we don't have to like do things which are not very. We have to use our mind also, our brain, our intelligence. But Prabhupada had no such thing. From nothing, this whole thing started, right? If you think about it, he had nothing. And the whole thing started from just nothing. So, here only Bhagavatam. And so it's a miracle. Because he followed the instruction of his spiritual master so seriously. He tried. He said, even if I don't succeed, that's okay. In spiritual life, it is success. If you try and if you don't succeed in doing it, that's okay. It's still success. Because Krishna sees it like that. Okay, so it's 8:30. We'll stop here. We'll hear that lecture of Keshav Maharaj we were hearing. Okay, so let's see where is Prahlad. Here. So any other comments? Anybody else? This verse. So this is all philosophy, right? Maybe we should hear some pastimes also. Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji, Krishna's pastimes would be great actually.
Yeah, we can hear. I was hearing yesterday Krishna teasing Rukmini. And the lecture from, we can hear that lecture and then we can hear Prabhupada's.
Those who worship me.
It's one of the rare lectures Amog Leela Prabhu gave in English. Let's see. On our Gujarati call, we read this also chapter. So let's see.
So Rukmini is also very, very submissive.
Rukmini Swayamvar?
No, this is who can give some background? Krishna teasing Rukmini. When it happened?
That's after marriage.
After marriage.
Rukmini never becomes angry at Krishna. So Krishna wanted to make Rukmini angry. And so Krishna is saying that, why did you marry me? You should have married Shishupal. That would have been better. So Rukmini thinks that Krishna wants to take divorce now. So she faints actually. She doesn't become angry. She falls unconscious. Hearing all this.
Krishna wants to experience all kinds of emotions. Like in Damodar Lila, one reason he wants to see Nanda and Yashoda fight. So, so Krishna wants to experience his Rasaraj. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says, oh, everybody is praising me with all, but who is that devotee who will chastise me? Right? Who is the one devotee that will chastise me? I like, but of course, those are very pure devotees. We can't imitate and chastise Krishna. But yeah, so Krishna wants to experience all different kinds of rasa. He has always seen Rukmini in a very submissive mood. And so, like Radharani sometimes becomes angry at Krishna. He comes late for the meeting and she says, I will not see you. There is a Man Mandir, right? Is that the Man Mandir in Barsana? Is it called the Man Mandir, right? That Mandir.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Man Mandir. So she goes into Man and then Krishna has to think about so many things, how to please Radharani, how to again win her favor. So he's experiencing all these different kinds of emotions. He doesn't like monotonous, life. So let's see, yeah.
What do you say, Prabhu?
Prabhuji, we can start with the class.
Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen wants to see that beauty of, like in Vrindavan Leela, we see that Srimati Radharani, she's Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langai Tegirim Yatripatam Hamande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram Jai Gurudev Jai Prabhupada Jai. Hare Krishna. So it's a very interesting pastime where Lord Krishna decides to tease Rukmini and how Krishna desiring to see the anger of Rukmini Devi because Rukmini ji is so cool. She is so submissive to Krishna. She never becomes angry. Like in Vrindavan Leela, we see that Srimati Radharani, she shows her transcendental anger, man. But Chandravali, she is very submissive. And because Chandravali expands as Rukmani, so Rukmani is also very, very submissive. But Krishna wants to see that beauty of Rukmani ji when she becomes angry. He knows that when Satyabhama, Satyabhama becomes angry because Satyabhama is expansion of Srimati Radharani. So he often sees the angry face of Satyabhama, but he never gets to see the anger of Rukmani ji because Rukmani is so calm, composed. Even when this Parijata tree episode happened, so at that time she very comfortably gave Parijata tree to Satyabhama, and she's not angry at all. So Krishna was desiring that I should get to see that beautiful, charming, transcendently effulgent and illustrious face of Rukmani when she becomes angry. So, like there are many songs also in Bollywood that when